My name is Adora Twebu,
And I'm Nicholas Casciola.
and we are the Capstone tracking team, and here's our final presentation. So here's our presentation outline. Next slide. I'm going to be taking you through my front-end results and updates. I'm basically going to be showing my initial designs in Figma and then the current implementation that we have. So starting off with the landing page. So the main difference here is that on the left-hand side, we have a student login and a TA/admin login. And on the right-hand side, we have just one login button. And that's because we're going to be using CAS. So once a user logs in and using CAS, the web app is going to be able to determine their user type, and it's going to route them properly. So now with the team dashboard, so on the left-hand side, we have the initial design in Figma, and then the right-hand side, the current implementation. So nothing has really changed. The only thing that has changed is on the right-hand side, under the budget remaining section, we have a button called request budget increase. And basically this case is just to handle situations where students have sponsors. They may have a budget that exceeds $500. So they can click on this button and request a budget increase that the professor can go ahead and approve. So moving on to the TA/professor dashboard. So on the left-hand side is the design in Figma, and the right-hand side is the current implementation. The main difference here is that on the left-hand side, it shows the current status of the team's order. And right now, we're still working on exactly what the final product of the team list is going to look like. But the main difference is just that on the right-hand side, there is no status, but that is something that we are looking to include in the future. So with the order history page, so the left side is the initial design, the right side is the current implementation. Not much has changed. The main thing that has changed is that we split up the approval into two columns. So now we have an approve order and a deny order column. And on the bottom left-hand side, we have a button that basically states approve all orders. And so we don't have a button that states deny all orders, because for each order that the TA or professor wants to deny, they have to state a reason. So we figured it would be best not to include that button. Now I'm basically going to be walking you through my overall progress summary. So far I've formatted the structure and theme for all pages, and I've have been developed and implemented. All key pages for users have been created and implemented. I've been able to display data passed from the back end to the front end in a user-friendly manner. That's basically my job, making sure that the user is able to make sense of the data that we're presenting to them. Also, all basic functions of the web app have been developed, including user order requests, admin approval/deny of orders, and placing orders, etc. Some things that I'd like to work on in the future. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to develop a notification system for all users, flesh out all details of how we will handle shipping and handling communication between vendors, the parts receiving office, and students. I'd like to complete formatting of Mauser order pages and just basically making sure that every page is nice, it looks nice, and it's user-friendly, and users are able to make sense of everything that's going on the page. Conducting UX, UI feedback on future users, basically so that we know what we can improve on. I'd like to implement ADA standards and test for website accessibility. And lastly, clean up the code base for future maintainability.
So I'm going to walk you through our backend database and Django results from this semester. This is our current design. So as you can see, I've coalesced the users into one table using a Boolean field to differentiate different types of users between student, TA, and professor. And then we can also have different types of users if need be. We have is staff, is active, is user, and date joined highlight in blue. Those fields are required by the Django system to be able to identify admin users to access the backend admin portal that Django provides for us. We still got orders, we still got parts. The parts have a couple new fields to be able to handle order APIs like Mauser and DigiKey, such as vendor part number, manufacturer, and manufacturer part number. So we got teams got the same kind of structure. And then we also have a budget increase request at the behest of our TA. We've added this field to be able to allow teams to increase their budget by request. So Our Django subsystem is subdivided into 3 separate apps to keep things a little more organized. So currently we have a user app, a tracker app, and a Mouser order app. Each app actually works together in the Django subsystem to be able to pass information from one to the other, and then also to be able to perform different functionalities and use different routes. So currently we have a login, logout, and callback feature for our user app. So login and logout redirect the user to CAS for login or logout, depending on the link. So we actually don't provide a way for our users to log out in the application right now, as that is not good CAS principles. If you log a user out of our application in CAS, it logs them out of eCampus, Howdy, etc. And then the callback is used by the internal system to be able to call back to the current application after authentication with CAS. So as you can see, this table is a lot longer. This is our tracker app routes. So these are a list of actions and paths and web pages that our users can use. So this is the meat and potatoes of our app. This is where most of the computing power is resided. Some of the most important ones that I want to take note of are the team/team ID route. That's the dashboard for students. It gives a dashboard link to their assigned team. We have a TAs and a professors route. Those are the landing page or the dashboards for the teaching assistants and for the professors. It shows them a list of teams, and they can investigate each team to see if that team has open orders. So another big important part of the tracker app is the order/order ID, where users can inspect an order and its parts, and then the order approve order and order deny order gives approval functionality and denial functionality, and then routes the user back to the order list page where it should be removed from that list, and they can continue inspecting other orders from other teams. And at the very bottom, we have 3 more action routes: export all parts, export team parts, and export order parts, where we can export parts based off of all the parts in the database, like Professor Lusher wanted to be able to, just the parts associated with the team in case they want to include that in their final reports, or just the parts from an order in case they have to take it to Lanita for a special case part. Our Mouser order app has some routes that give it some functionality. So we can view the cart info, where they can view cart settings like currency. They can post items to carts, and they can post all items to carts. So they have a list of all Mouser parts that are currently open and have not been ordered yet. They can check out all the parts that have been ordered through the Mouser API system, and then they can check out the summary of all the parts that are in the Mouser's account cart. So if you add a part to the cart, if you post an item to the cart and you go over to your Mouser account on the Mouser website, you'll be able to see it there. The only thing that I don't have listed here is the actual placing of an order, because I have not set up a payment system with the Mouser account yet, and I've submitted that without a payment system and it works. They just tell me there's an error, but you know, that kind of thing. It's a very easy fix. So this is my development backlog. There's an order and part notifications. That's something that I really want to tackle and make sure. There's a big logistical issue there with shipping and receiving and the business office, so we're going to have to coordinate a lot of that. I'm working on the DigiKey API access. I've been using their sandbox environment. It should be pretty easy, but I just have to get access from them. I want to be able to auto load the teams into the system via CSV, Excel, or Google Sheets, kind of thinking whatever the initial website we use at the beginning of this semester to organize ourselves, and do the same thing with users. And then I want to be able to assign teams to a specific set of teams so that when they log into their dashboards, they only see those teams, but professors are still able to see all the teams. And then regarding the production environment, so we're following the ticket request that IT put in for the VM. How we're going to handle the code, though, is something I want to talk about. So we're going to have separate branches called dev and prod for development code and production code, respectively. The SQLite 3 file we've been using will be abandoned for a real deal PostgreSQL database, and I'll assist Adora with the setup here. I've done this in the past. The code base will be pruned for unnecessary files and libraries added during the research phase. And then I'm going to go in and curate the code base to make sure that we have plenty of readability and we're able to follow everything that's going on. So it's going to be a production level code base. And then we're going to start working on the README to be more complete and for navigation of the code base. So in terms of how we're going to be able to push code to the production environment, things are going to start of our individual user branch. So my branch is Nick, Adora's is Adora. So I push to my branch. That branch is peer reviewed by Adora, and then we merge that branch with the dev branch. The dev branch is tested in a local environment, and upon satisfactory performance, the dev branch is merged with the production branch, and those changes are reflected on the actual production environment, aka the actual tmu.edu site that IT gives us. So here's our execution and validation plan for this semester. I have pretty much hit all of my requirements for this semester. Ongoing, I'm doing some alpha testing of the application and to make sure that everything on the back end is working really the way it's supposed to. And then hopefully, I'm really excited to show you guys what we have for our final demo. Adora, if you'd like to take it up from here.
Yep, so basically I'm on track. I've basically implemented and done everything that I wanted to do. The only thing that I haven't had the chance to do is receive feedback for some of the user experience things. So that's something that I'm looking to do in the future, is conduct a user feedback session.
Execution and validation plan kind of continued. So one of the things that we're going to do for the summer is we're still going to figure out how the virtual machine, we're going to figure out how that all works. We're going to prove the code base. We're going to ensure that it is properly documented and commented. So I've learned from IT that we're going to be using Apache to deploy the Django application. So I'm by no means an Apache expert, so I'm going to spend some time researching how we're going to be able to do that. This is my first ever real deal production deployment, so I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully by July, I have Apache figured out. I'm hoping to basically take the code that we have at the end of the semester as a minimally viable product and put that on the production side and kind of make sure everything's wired up properly, get everything up and going properly. We're going to ensure that the Apache settings are all up to date, and we'll have IT review the application for requirements that they've discussed with us. So in the fall, what we're going to do, we're going to take some of the feedback we get from our final demo. We're going to take some of the feedback that we get from IT over the summer, and we're going to develop a full plan on how to agile out our project for the remainder of the semester. We're hoping to have this by like day 2 of the semester. We will be locked down and ready to go. And then we'll just do some agile iterations, probably 5 or 6 of them throughout the course of the semester, and finish out this project strong. So hopefully by November, we got a perfect looking application. To the end of our presentation, we're going to have a short demo after this presentation, and I will also link the demo into the end of this PowerPoint, the MP4, in case you have any issues with this specific video. Thank you.
All right, so here is the user dashboard. As previously mentioned, this is basically what the form is going to look like. The user is going to enter the part name, vendor, part number, and all the other fields here. Click add part to order, submit the order for approval. Then it's basically going to be loaded here. And as you can see, it's just basically going to have a table of all the fields that they entered, and they're going to have to wait on the TA for approval. Going back to the dashboard, we have here the request budget increase. So if I'm a team and I have a sponsor, and maybe my budget is 1,000, I would go ahead and enter that here, and I put the description.
So I'm going to take it from here and show you the professor/TA side of things. So right now, my user is technically a professor. So I'm going to go over to the team that we used and inspect their open orders. So right now, I can see that they have 2 open orders. This is their current open order. As you can see, that has no parts. This technically has not been submitted. But over here on order ID 32, I can come over here and inspect it. I can see the part name, vendor, manufacturer, description, link, part cost, quantity, and total cost. Not all the fields of the part are displayed for conciseness. So we can go back. I can either deny the order for being over budget, unnecessary items, or other, or I could approve the order. I think this order looks good, so I'm going to give it an approve. That order has been removed from the open orders list. And if you actually navigate back to the team in question, which is team 3, and professors have access to each team's dashboard, you can go and see that order 32 was approved by me, gives the email, and you can see that the budget remaining here has been adjusted. So the other thing that we would like to show is over here on the Mauser orders. So we can go over here and see the open part list. So we're still working on the formatting for this, but this is just kind of a basic example. I was doing a test earlier with Amazon. Didn't quite come out the way that I wanted because Amazon's technically the vendor, but I put it in as the manufacturer, so it looked kind of funky. But here's the Raspberry Pi that we just added. I can add this part to all parts to the cart, and then I can go and inspect the cart here. You can see that my Raspberry Pi, this is actually taking from the Mauser cart itself. This isn't just what the system has. So the Raspberry Pi is in the Mauser cart. If I were to go over to the Mauser website and log in, then I can see that it is indeed in my cart over here. this is it. This is the board in question. These are some other tests that I've run, but this is the Raspberry Pi, and that's it.